The ruling from the court was unanimous, bipartisan, back now with the panel. Lewis, I mean, this is going to suck up a lot of oxygen. It already has, but even moving forward, it's going to take up a lot of attention, not just for the White House, but also even for the Supreme Court nominee.
Well, that's right. And that's in part because this is a political promise that he's trying to keep. There, as the court noted, there's no sort of pressing national security urgent need that he's made a case for. And without that, the only reason that he's pressing it as hard as he is I genuinely believes it personally, but it's a political promise, and that's really all it is. And it was a political promise to have a Muslim ban. So that's going to get him in all kinds of trouble in court. It's going to be something that he probably should walk away from, downplay. I think his supporters know how he feels. We understand where he's coming from. At a minimum, they have to go back to scratch and write a legal executive order that can pass some kind of scrutiny and that has that crucial ingredient, which are facts about where the danger is.
Although you could make the counter-argument, which, and Jeff alluded to this, that maybe this works for Donald Trump in terms of his going against the establishment. If there's a, God forbid, there's a terror attack in the United States, he then says, well, look, these judges, you know, ruled this way. It would have been different had my extreme vetting been underway. And, you know, this is what we get.
No, I think that definitely makes sense, you know, a fight against the establishment. But that being said, you know, there were a lot of other things today that I think would have been a more positive message. He's vowed to give the biggest tax reduction plan since the 1980s. He put out executive orders on crime reduction. We could be talking about that. Engage in a counterfactual. Had he not appealed the temporary restraining order, we would have all forgotten about the fact that it's temporarily restrained while we let this play out on the merits. He probably will win on the merits, and then we could focus on a lot that's being done proactively on the part of the president, which is why I would urge him, don't appeal the restraining order. Let this play out. I think he will win in the end on the merits, but don't take breath and life out of all of the other things that are going on in the White House right now.
And Anderson, I think that the challenge with the establishment argument is that 70%, or I'm sorry, 60% of Americans, according to a Quinnipiac poll, do not support this ban. I think that's the other problem. This is one of the few instances where popular opinion is really not on his side here.
Except, but among Republicans, I think it's overwhelming.
Oh, sure, but Republicans aren't all who are here. In fact, you know, when we look at the popular vote in this election, that there are clearly other voices that matter, 46 million of them, in fact. And I think the challenge you have is in this particular executive order, the countries that he's banning, there has not been a single attack on U.S. soil by anyone from those countries from the 70s to 2015. That's a fact.
That's not true. Somalia, there were 3 knife attacks last year.
No, but this is about foreign nationals. So we were talking about foreign nationals. No one was killed.
Somali refugees, 25 were wounded, though.
No one was killed.
Okay,
on American soil.
I'm
not saying that we should undermine that, but I do think that we should, if we're going to use 9/11 as the bait, then we should talk about the 9/11 countries. I think that if we're going to talk about these other countries, then we need to look at the data that actually exists.
The security ratings change constantly.
Sure, but I
day.
think that we still have to be honest about the fact that America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, has been out touting this as if it's an answer to 9/11, and that's disingenuous.
So I guess the question, though, just politically is, I mean, what happens? What does the White House do? And also, what does this mean for the Supreme Court nominee?
I think that they're going to probably treat it as what Jeffrey said, is that they see it as them against establishment, and that, especially because it's the Ninth Circuit, and I know that they are sort of relieved that it is the Ninth Circuit, and that they will, you know, continue to play this out. The problem is that Donald Trump's rhetoric is catching up with him, because I actually personally don't support the ban, but I could make some arguments in defense of it from a constitutional perspective. It gets a lot harder when you consider the things that he has said. So there are actually a lot of people, human rights people, who have advocated to prioritize people who are being persecuted for their religion. There's nothing wrong with that in itself if you're fleeing a genocide, for example, in Syria and Iraq. They've been designated genocide victims by Secretary of State Kerry. That's an argument. But then when you enter in the ban comments, you have a problem.
I want to thank everybody on the panel during a live television